Hey Saab people, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the Saab B284 engine. Right away guys, I'm just going to say I personally have a lot of bias towards this engine. It's one of my favorites. I have a lot of time spent in working on this engine, and it's the engine I have the most experience with. This video is a recap and an update to my video titled, Why is the Saab V6 engine so strong? I accidentally gave out some false information because I made that video super last minute. Now, not only did I give out false information in the video, I'm sure, but I also mostly gave out false information in the comments in a few spots. Basically, the only issue that I had was I kept mixing up Holden and Opel, so I went ahead and I took down that video and I'm making this one as an update. The reason I got Holden and Opel mixed up is because they're both cars I've never really seen in the US before and don't, have much knowledge about either. With that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get into the video so I can give you some better info. The B284R, not to be confused with the B284L, is the Saab 2.8 V6 engine. The B284L is the predecessor to the R that makes less power and has a little bit of a timing difference and has some software differences as well. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but that is the information I found readily available. There could be more differences or less. The B284L is used in the front-wheel drive, whereas the R is used in both, to my knowledge, front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. And for my purpose, I'm most familiar with it in the Turbo X and the Aero cross-wheel drive 9.3. This engine is pretty strong on its own, and with some slight outer modifications can make up to 420 horsepower somewhat safely. Now, another disclaimer, I am not stating that this is Saab's best, strongest, or fastest engine to be mass-produced. It is in fact much less reliable than quite a few other engines out there. It's in fact much less reliable when you slap it with a shit ton of boost and expect to get a ton of power out of it and you snap a rod. The exciting and interesting fact I wanted to share with you guys about this engine is the fact that the internals, being just the crankshaft and the rods, are drop forged from the factory, which is not exactly the same thing as buying forged racing parts that are aftermarket. So it isn't as strong as that, but it's a little stronger than just having cast rods. It's still not crazy sturdy for a ton of power. The rods are kind of thin and the pistons are still a weak point for racing purposes, and so are the rods. Let's go ahead and go over some weak spots on the engine. Now, this is both the engine itself and things surrounded to the engine that make it work. So the first thing is the ECU or the ECM. Pins often snap on them and it gets a lot of heat because of the area that it's in. Same thing with the battery and the coolant hoses and everything. Those are some common failure points, along with the thermostat, the water pump, also things that go pretty often. Now, the one thing that I absolutely hate and see very often is the pipe that goes from the exhaust manifold right to the turbo on both the front and the back. They like to rot out, and because of that, you will get a lean condition showing up in your computer, so it will put out more fuel than necessary and cause your spark plugs to foul pretty often, and you'll also get shittier miles per gallon. The other thing that goes bad on this quite often are the coil packs as well. Now, I'm sure there's more issues. Feel free to list them in the comments. Let us know what your woes are working on this engine, just for fun. In the last video, I had quite a few people commenting, asking, hey, where can I get parts for this? Can you post links? How can I search to find parts for this? I'm going to go ahead and list how I found these racing parts, and you guys can be the judge for yourselves whether you think that this is a good few places to look for things or not. Do your own research and figure it out. So the way that I did it was, obviously you type in B284R upgrades, B284 racing parts, B284 forged, stuff like that. Now, that is a good tactic, but the problem is a lot of racing that's done with this engine isn't in the US, and the B284R is specifically the Saab version of this engine. This engine also has other names as well, the LP9, the A28 NET, and the Z28 NET. Now, if you type these in and search forged or upgraded parts, you will find quite a bit more. Now, here is a few places that you can get upgraded parts for this engine if you're interested. So Speed Parts Sweden is a good place to get all the internals for this engine. They sell everything except for camshafts that I'm aware of. So they have cranks, pistons, rods, and they even have size upgrades for your engine as well, because this particular engine also came in larger sizes. You can upgrade to I believe a 3.2 stroker kit. I'm not going to get into how to do that because that's something I don't have a ton of knowledge on, and I've never done it before, so I hate to put false information out there. But go check it out on Speed Parts and ask them if you have questions, because that's something you're interested in. Now, just for regular parts or slightly larger parts, because you have compression issues, you could go through AZ Performance or Maptune. They both sell Wassner forged pistons, which is a good first step to take. But if you're going to do pistons, you might as well do rods if you're in there as well. So rods, you can either go through BSR, or you can go through Speed Parts Sweden, or you can go through Von Raceworks is another place I found. Not sure how reliable they are. The last place I found, and this was the only real place for camshafts that I found, and I'm sure that they're for this engine, is Mace Engineering. So I will go ahead and leave those names in the description. I'm not going to post their website because I don't want to try and lead you to the wrong place on accident. And also I hate having to go back to videos and update links. So if you're trying to rebuild an engine, you're smart enough to find some parts on your own now that I've given you the search help. Anyway, guys, I hope that this was a much better video for you in what you're looking for, and I wish you all the best working on your B284R, or I hope that you found some valuable information or just a few cool facts about this engine. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.